MNPS is stronger than my father. With Marcus Minis.
Welcome to another episode of Stronger Than My Father podcast. Our podcast is designed to bring more of an awareness to fatherhood and some of the issues that surround fatherhood. I have to give a special shout out to my producer, Jim McCarthy, and Jim McCarthy Voiceovers for all the technical work he does to make this podcast what it is. Also, my podcast producer team that's spearheaded by my wife, LaToya, who puts all the things together to make all this work. So I'm truly excited for season 2 of Stronger Than My Father podcast. I have a special guest who's running for mayor. First interview for a mayoral candidate that I'm excited about. I've been knowing this special person for the past 2 years, have a heart and a passion for kids. So let me introduce my guest to Ms. Fran Bush. Thank you, Fran, for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's dive into some podcasting. First thing I want my audience to know is a little bit about you. Tell my audience who's listening who do not know who Fran Bush is. Who is Fran Bush?
So I am Fran Bush. I am a native Nashvilleian. I have lived in Antioch since 2001.
Same time as us.
Oh, okay.
No, I moved in 03.
Okay, on 3. So I was a little bit before.
Yeah, you're a little before me.
But before that, I went to all Metro Nashville Public Schools. I went to the Tennessee State University. I am very, very proud of Tennessee State University and the work that they're doing. And a shout out Grammy, 2-time Grammy winner. So I'm so proud of my alma mater. So keep up the good work, guys. I have 5 sons.
5 sons.
You know, stronger than my father, right?
Yeah.
And I have an amazing husband of 30 years.
Hold up. You 30?
No, 30 years of being married.
30 years of being married.
Yes, isn't that crazy? I
Wow.
mean, yeah, we met.
You don't even look like it.
Oh, thank you.
Y'all don't look like y'all been married 30 years.
Yeah, drink plenty of water. I think that's what helps. And keep them boys in line, right?
Got it.
Yeah. So, so I actually been here in the Antioch community since 2001, and I've done a lot of work in the community. Mm-hmm. So, not just, mom, wife. I do a lot of work in the community leader. I've worked alongside of councilmen and women to help stop the bleeding in our community when we've had some upsets. Then I decided to run for the school board. Mm-hmm. And ran for the school board, and I was on the board for 4 years. Mm-hmm. And I've been a part of so many different organizations, volunteering, teaching my boys how to just do that work, right?
Yeah.
Be a part of society. So all of my boys went to Metro Nashville Public Schools. Me and my husband, we met at Tennessee State University, and now we have kids in college and all that great stuff. And I'm a new grandma.
Forgot about your grandma. Yes. I forgot about school board and grandma. I forgot about in your introduction. And that's good. I think it's good to have those combinations as you prepare to run for mayor, because that's a whole big arena.
It is.
Because you deal with so many people. Your background growing up, fatherhood, any of those stories you like to bring out to our audience?
Yeah, so I can relate being fatherless over half of my life.
Okay.
So my father, he made some bad choices and, got into the drug game, back in the day and all that. And he just didn't, very, very talented man, just bad choices, during his time. So we kind of had our, disagreement where I had to kind of separate our relationship until he got himself together, because of course, having children, having boys, it was important for me to make sure that they were in a space and place that was positive. Okay. And not disrupted with that type of lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So me and my husband were very intentional on making sure that our boys did not have to have that type of problems or stress in their lives, or we just wanted them to have a healthy childhood. In any way that we could bring that to the table, that's what we were very intentional of doing. So my father, now we have rekindled our relationship. Okay. He is in a great relationship. He's married, and he has his own business. Okay. On Jefferson Street. It's called Uwe Barbecue. Oh, okay. If you don't know, he is wonderful over there. He's doing great things. Food is delicious. So he decided to change his life because he knew he was missing out on his daughter and his grandkids, and he had to make a choice. And I'm really happy that we rekindled our relationship, and I'm very proud of the work that he's doing right now.
That's cool. One of our previous podcast guests said that when the father is absent, there's always that little person inside of them that always wants their father. Is that true?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I did everything I could do to make sure that I was supporting my father, even during the times that he made those bad choices, because I wanted to be that daughter that I said I at least tried to help. I didn't want to go to bed at night thinking I coulda, woulda.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make sure I was a part of that process if I could. But when I realized that it was up to him, he had to now step up and make the best decisions. And unfortunately, I had to kind of, as he called it, I had to divorce him.
Wow. I never heard that word before, that you had to divorce your parents. Man, do you think that's because of the pain?
It is.
It's the pain of a daughter. But, okay, let me go ahead and let you talk. Because here's the question I have in my head is ring, is that I seen my father raise my sister. My sister, let me get it right. My sister, but I always hear that most girls long for their father. They long for their dad for validation and protection.
Absolutely.
Do you agree with that?
100,000%.
Okay. All right. I'll make sure I wasn't going off the rockers. Okay.
No. Little girls, even, and I didn't mention that. I don't even know why that was not even a part of my background, but I'd also have 3 childcare centers.
Yeah, I was going to get to that.
And even when I see the little girls look up to their dads in the daycares, it's just a special type of sparkle that they have in their eyes. And it just warms my heart, because as I was growing up, my sparkle wasn't really always bright. Okay. So it really resonates to me that I see this as children are growing up. And to me, you know, a father presence is everything. You know, from a son to a daughter. I mean, that presence means everything. It means how you turn out. It means how you grow up. It means how you you work in the society that you grew up in, right? And so it just means a whole lot. So having that void really does impact your childhood, impacts who you are. But at the same time, you overcome those things, because I had to overcome those things, and I had to literally make sure that my children didn't have the same issues.
And my mom said that in one of our podcasts. She said when she was 12 years old, she prayed to God. Well, my mom grew up fatherless, and she said, I pray that I find a husband like you did that can help raise my kids. So how did that help your development in getting married, having a husband? What were you looking for in a husband? Because I've heard most people say most girls look for the split image of their father. I've heard that a lot. Well, they look for that. So what were you looking for? Like I said, you 30 years in the game.
Yeah.
What were you looking for when you was looking for a husband to hopefully raise your kids?
That's an excellent question. It was the opposite. It was the opposite of what I was looking for, that my dad, my upbringing from my father. My expectation or my standards was totally different. So when I met my husband, I had standards. I had to interview him, literally, just to make sure.
Interview?
I had to interview him. Yes.
Okay.
And even at 18 years old, we met because of my past history with my father and of my upbringing, and something else that I may have shared with you. I was also a part of the foster care system. So that was also something that I had to overcome. But I had some amazing teachers in my life and mentors like you, what you're doing in the lives of children, that helped change the whole facet of me being who I am today.
Well, I've never heard somebody say to interview a man prepared for marriage. I wish your husband was on here. I would ask him, what's the interview question you going to ask me at 18? Because I would have been like, why are you interviewing me?
Right.
You know, I would have asked you that question.
I wanted to know how many kids, because I knew I was the only child. My father had other children, but I was the only child by mom and my mother and him. And so I always wanted a lot of kids. I wanted 6 children. I only had my 5, and the reason why I didn't have 6 is because we opened the daycare. My husband said that's enough. We have enough children around here, and so that was one of my questions. And the other questions were, you know, tell me about your family. Tell me about who raised you. And his grandmother helped raise him. He had his mother in his life. His father wasn't present. Isn't it something how this goes full circle? It's crazy.
Why do they say the cycle?
Yes,
it's a cycle.
It's a cycle.
People understand that.
And he didn't even meet his dad until he was 30 years old.
That's tough.
Yeah. So, I mean, and once again, the cycle, it was just a generational cycle that we saw in our community. And, but his grandmother was a force behind him being gentle and knowing how to treat a woman and a lady and, taking care of family. So all those things meant so much to me, because if you were going to be the father of my children, that's exactly what I was looking for. I was looking for the opposite of what my father.
Because you wanted to break the cycle.
I wanted to break the cycle.
Well, let's go into education.
Absolutely.
I know you mentioned you was on the school board.
Yes.
Your passion for education. Let me ask you the question about this third grade law retention. What is your thoughts on it? Is it something that you feel is trying to stop kids from progressing? Is it something that's stopping kids of color from progression? I don't know. I just know as a dad, I don't want my son going through it. Absolutely. That's all. I don't care about the law, me personally.
Right.
All I care about is, man, my son goes to 4th grade. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's all, but I know there's single moms that's out here fighting, no fathers around. I clearly know this world that I've been thrust into, because I did not know these things went on. Mm-hmm. But your thoughts about the law, where it's going, and is it something you think is going to hold a lot of kids back?
So this law took place about almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, when they actually legislature passed this law. Okay. At that time, when I was on the school board, I was very intentional on asking leadership, let's start educating parents now. Let them know what's going to come down the pike so we can best prepare our parents. Got it. And when I say best prepare, meaning, okay, let's get tutoring sessions in place. If your child's not reading on grade level, let's do everything we can do intentionally to make sure that once this law takes place, we've pretty much caught up. We've pretty much done exactly what we needed to do. Now, was it going to be 100%? We knew it wasn't going to be 100%. Okay. But we started late in the game, and then now it's upsetting parents, because all of a sudden it's like it's new. Yeah. And it's not new. Yeah. I think the school system dropped the ball a little bit, just because they should have been proactive in making sure parents was aware of it. And in the midst of that, we had COVID, right? Yeah. So COVID. That was another issue. So it kind of was a double whammy. Yeah. So, but no, parents are just like you. They do not want to hold their children back. And now there's options that they will not be held back. So I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's I thought they were going to get held back regardless. No. So let's say they don't pass the test, the TCAP test. Then the next step, they'll go to summer school. They'll have other support systems that will help them start to read on that grade level. Mm-hmm. Before they enter back into the schools, they should be not say tested again, but they will have some option to be able to prove that, hey, this child is going towards reading proficiency. Okay, I got it. Okay, so it looks scary, but there's options that we can gain their reading level back. So, it won't be about retention. Yeah, I think I asked a teacher, because I go see some of the boys. It's in my mentoring, but I go to their school, and I have one in 3rd grade. The first question I asked him was, what's on the test? Because I used to be a nervous person about taking tests. So the first question I asked him is that, what's on the proficiency test, so I can help prepare him? He was like, a little math, a little English. So, and again, I asked the follow-up question, what's on the test that I can see? Because when Jordan gets in 3rd, that's what I'm going to ask, is what's on the test, so I can prepare him. Not saying his mom wouldn't. Right. But I for some reason, I love doing homework with him. Absolutely. When he's doing this math and stuff like that, is I don't want him to fail. Right. And that's just the father side of me, where I don't want my son to fail 3rd grade. And I just feel when I hear these parents on TV, they're scared or fussing, saying, hey, I want my child left behind. What can parents do to prepare for this? What, in your honest opinion, in your experience, what can parents do to prepare my child for the proficiency test? One of the things is really, really simple, and that's read every night. Read to your child. Ask those prompting questions. Be able to have them repeat things back to you, because that's what the test is going to basically do, because those tests are very can be intimidating to children, especially when they can't read. And that's another area that they're saying why the testing are so low, because they can't read the question. Of course, they can't be helped by the teacher. They have to just basically take that test. So to help prepare the students, that means read to them twice a day. Ask those questions. Ask them what happened in the story. Once you start to do that, your child starts to get really excited, because right now when they're not reading on reading level, they feel like they have to act out in a classroom. It becomes behavior issues because they just don't know. And it's not something they can relate to because they can't read, or they're not reading on that level. And especially with COVID. COVID did take away a lot of that reading proficiency, and kids really fell behind. So we just have to do things more intentional and get them caught up.
Well, the previous guest I had, who's a advocate for education, I always ask, and I have to, because it's a podcast about fatherhood, like that father piece, and I'm being more sensitive to especially single moms who are trying to do everything and then don't have the time to read to their kids. They don't have time to go look in their folders to see what the teacher put in the folder. And like, what can we do? I know you're running for mayor. What can we do to help parents, single moms who's going through that? Because I know I live in reality now that some fathers just not going to be there.
Yeah.
They ain't going to be there.
Right.
So what can we do to help single moms who's struggling to try to just even put food on the table, more or less than just trying to help their child read? And that's why I feel bad. So with this At School program, we try and get a grant with United Way and help kids in the community read. I don't mind coming on a Saturday and help a child read, maybe because I feel bad that a child just can't pick up a piece of paper and don't know what it is. What, in your thought, what do you think that single mom should do?
It's amazing that you asked me that question. Not only be on the school board, taking the phone calls and there's problems that we need to fix, that parents are having concerns with. I also had calls to say, hey, Miss Fran, I need help. I'm a single mom, just like you mentioned. My son or daughter is acting out in school. Are there any programs that you can refer me to? I've referred them to your program, of course, and other programs that could help depending on the situation. What I would say is that we have to be more intentional in helping programs like yours. If I'm elected as the next mayor of Nashville, I'm going to make sure that those programs that are boots on the ground, I want to push funding into those programs because we can't do it by ourselves. Without programs like Stronger Than My Father, we won't be able to do what we're doing right now because you're doing it in the community, right? But we need so many more organizations that are doing exactly what you want to do but need funding.
Oh yeah, funding is always a big thing,
right?
Yeah, mainly because I just don't. When kids come to our school program, when kids come to your childcare program, I just don't want to. And my mom told me, Mark, you can't save everybody. She just dropped like a big bucket of ice water on me.
I can see her face.
And I was just like, and then when I sit at home and we have a kid in our mentoring program that says, I don't want to come back. I feel like going to their house and say, why not? And my mom said, Mark, you got to let them go and help the next child. There's another child that needs your help. And you can't save everybody. And I understand that. I think I just have that heart for them. Absolutely. Where I feel bad. And I know people judge them. Like, you shouldn't have slept with that man. You shouldn't have been with that guy. Those things is one thing that I just really feel that we should do more for.
Right, absolutely.
More single, and then I would tell the single mom, if you're struggling in an area, ask for help. Don't feel ashamed to ask for help.
Absolutely.
And that's the things where I'm more have a heart for. And that's why we're trying to do a program called Moms with Purpose. Just have a support group for you. Absolutely. Give you a hug. What else can we do to help you? So I think just this third grade reading, everybody talking about literacy, and I am losing it. Like, I just don't understand why kids don't read on a certain level. And I just didn't understand why. And I'm like, why won't the dad step up and protect the family and be sure his children can read? Make sure you have and I know I live in this different reality, Fran. And so my advocacy for the podcast and things I'm talking about is to be sure kids have a shot. You have a shot at having a better life. And that's why I fuss about that. But I think, from your advocacy, your fight for education is a thing that I always admire, because if the kids can't read stuff, they're going to go to juvie. Yeah. And then the statistics shows that kids can't read on grade level, they build a jail for you. So I think as we segment into the mayor, you running for mayor and the things that you want to see and the things you're going to be fighting for, education is just one of the biggest things. And I think it is.
Education is one of my priorities, if you've seen it.
Yeah.
And under education, I couldn't list everything I wanted under that umbrella.
Yeah, on your video, yeah.
Because there's so many things, and you're one of them. Organizations like yours, you're listed under there, because we need more support in our schools. We need more supports in our after-school programs. We need support in the city so that we can conquer that crime that happens between the ages of 14 and 26 years old. Yeah. And mostly our black and brown boys. Yeah. And so we have to be more intentional and make sure that we're more aggressive in that area. And to do that are nonprofits. Yeah. Nonprofit organizations. There we have hundreds that are here in this city that just want to do the work, just like you're hungry about making sure you can save every child that you possibly can save. But as the next mayor, if I am elected, we're going to conquer all of that, because I have a vision and I have a plan. I've been in the system. I know exactly how it works. I know how to defeat those issues. That's why it was such a big fight to get them back in school, because I saw what was happening. I saw what was going to be a defect for them. And so it was a lot of work, but we got it done because parents, support. Of course, you got your state, you had your legislatures. Everybody had to kind of jump in to say, we're worried here. And rightfully so, we had to do something about it. But to your point, we have to, do more as far as literacy. One of the things that I would love for parents to fight for, and reading recovery is what we had in the school system. The previous administration got rid of reading recovery, and it was only because it was just one of those political moves. But reading recovery would do just that in the schools. It will bring students together in a group, and those students who have been identified that they are not reading on grade level, then they are pulled out for a number of minutes time, and they are caught up. Those students are identified, and they work with those students, and it was a very, very effective program. These teachers got their training from the Ohio State University, one of the top universities that they got this reading recovery program in Metro Nashville Public Schools, and it's no longer there. Parents need to advocate for that. Just to your point, parents are busy. They're working 2 jobs. Sometimes they just don't have that extra in them because they're trying to keep food on the table, lights on, water on, and all that great stuff that that kids need, and families. But we have to do more in the schools too. And that's where I feel that, we can combat the literacy.
Well, that's the thing that I just didn't understand. I'm great segment to you running for mayor, is just the fight that you fought to make sure kids have a shot at a better life. And that's the thing that this organization wants to do, is fight for fatherhood. I want my boys to be sure when you become a man, you be there for your kids. Yeah. Because, in just my honest opinion, I think a lot of the problems that you see in school will probably lessen if fathers were there. Yeah. That's just my honest opinion. But let's go into you running for mayor. And what made you decide? But we talk pre-talk. It's like that's a huge step.
Oh, it's huge.
From school board to say I want to be, because I mean your life changes. Number one, you're more in the public eye, and it affects family. You have a beautiful husband, who supports you 100%. Why did you want to do it? That's my first question. And if you win, are you prepared for the time that it takes to be away from your family? Because you have, that's a huge step, and I believe no woman has ever won.
Megan Berry,
my bad. Yeah, she opened up school. So I think just those are my questions for why you run, and are you prepared if you win?
So I'm running because the good work that I did on the board, it was the good work, it was the hard work. I was already out there in the public's eye in Nashville, because it wasn't about just our district. It was about 80,000 plus more students that I had to make sure that they were supported. So citywide, I was always, I would say that I was more of the most decorated school board member, just because media wanted to talk to me all the time, because they had an interest in what my values were, my passion was, and they saw through that. And so I've been already kind of out there and have gotten my feet wet. I want to take my experience, my leadership, and I want to take it into our city now. Okay. Because I'm real big about getting things done, and we all have a talent. Yeah. And I think it's one of my biggest talents, getting the work done, being very intentional, having a plan, making sure that things are moving in the right directions. I don't slow walk anything, and I think the past 4 years we've slow walked a lot of things that Nashvillians need and want. And I just feel very adamant that I can get this work done and much more. So I want to take my leadership from the school board of Nashville, Tennessee, to the next mayor of Nashville, Tennessee. Wow. And the question about my family, I got 100% support from my husband, which I was totally shocked. And
God, if I was your husband, I've been looking at you like,
right.
Whoa, that's a whole different animal.
It is. And then my kids, they've been so used to me being out there, so they're very supportive. And but I know this is going to be a lot of work, and it's going to be away from family. But I'm going to make sure that I'm very inclusive when I'm, when it comes to my family, making sure that family time is still important. Because if I do win mayor, it is important for the city to still see that family values always have to be there, because we have to set that example.
Yeah, because you're going to be away a whole lot. So outside of education, supporting nonprofits, so that would definitely help what we do.
Yeah.
What else do you want to fight for? Because here's the thing, I'm not political. I don't understand that world enough.
Right.
I don't understand the world enough. What else do you want to fight for and see in Nashville change as mayor?
Well, our homeless community, that's another issue that we're having. Here we have close to 3,000 homeless people. If you've seen out in Bellevue, they had the camp. They finally removed that camp down there. Yeah. And gosh, again, nonprofit organizations, right? It took some time to get there, but they did it, cleaned it up, and people were placed. So that's why I believe so much in our nonprofits, because your boots on the ground. So those are the kind of things, along with crime and prevention. Right, our men and women in uniform are stretched thin because our city is growing so fast, and they're not able to keep up with that type of crime that's being presented. Right, so we need to hire more police officers. We need to make sure they're supported in order to make sure that you and I are safe, our families are safe, our tourists are safe. So I see there's a great need, because as you mentioned, we don't want more jails to be built. Right? Yeah, we want to make sure that we are doing everything we can, and if I'm elected as the next mayor, I'm going to do that. My first year of office, I'm going to cut crime by 50%. That's a huge number. But that's how I work. I put that stress on me, because I have to, in order for me to get the work done. Yeah,
that's a huge one. I think because how crime operates in some of your low pro areas, that you see what crime is all the time, what you hear on TV and the news all the time, is that you see why people make change. And so now when you're trying to go out here and convince voters to vote for you, that you're going to cut crime 50%, that's a huge number. Yes. So outside of crime, what is your major plan outside of crime? Because when we talk about budget, I see that on TV. Yeah. When you have to say, hey, we're going to give teachers more money, that's another big one. What's your thoughts on those two things, budgeting, and I think just what do we do for our teachers?
So right now, of course, in legislature, I think Governor Lee wants to increase the salary of teachers again. I would personally tell you, a teacher should not make no less than $75,000, period. They're still at that, 50, mid-50s, that type. We have to be more intentional, just like our DCS workers, right? We have issues there.
I was going to ask you that one.
Yeah, I mean, we have to pay them more. The work is overload. It's in overload right now, in overdrive. So we have to do more financially to make sure that we can keep these people, right? So when it comes to the budget, like for example, the school budget, if you don't know, we have $1 billion school budget, right? This school budget is the largest school budget in this state. So we made sure that when we voted on a budget, because when the budgets are presented us before the next budget cycle, we take a deep dive into the budget to make sure that every line item is going to touch the children. Okay. Right? When I was on the board and we had contracts, when I first got on the board, I said we're going to need to cut most of these contracts because it doesn't touch your kids. So that means that we were pretty much creating a financial wave that we didn't need. Okay, so I had the school director to take a deep dive into all these contracts, because I felt like everybody was just getting paid and it really wasn't touching our kids and what the needs were. So that was one of the things that that was my ask. So if I am your next mayor, I'm going to make sure that the city business, the government is touching what we need to make sure that we are doing the work for our city. Yeah. And if it's not, then we'll have to rethink on how we can allocate those funds. But I do take a deep dive into the budget, just like I do the school budget. Okay, because like I said, that's a lane that I have no experience on. It's a lot of money. Yeah, it's a lot of money. But just seeing you decide to take a leap of faith, when people talk about you and make fun, saying, "Oh, she ain't gonna win. She doing this." I think one thing that I admire about anybody who take a leap of faith to do something, because if they ain't doing it, why would you talk about somebody else who wants to do something different? Because just like starting this, how many people told me that
it wasn't gonna last
it wasn't
long.
Gonna work. Yeah.
It wasn't gonna work.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this 10 years. 10 years in July. It's a mindset that I have that I want to be sure that if somebody tell me I can't do something, I want to prove them wrong.
There you go.
And I think I admire you for stepping out, because it was a shock when I saw it on TV. I'm not gonna lie. I said, "Whoa, that's Fran." They want to run for mayor. And like I said, I think that you have every opportunity, like everybody else, to prove your point and prove to voters that you're the most qualified person. So, as we wrap up this podcast, one thing I want to do is ask you, why should a voter vote for you? And I want to ask one final question.
Look, I'm excited. Yeah.
Why should a voter vote for you? Number one, and number two, if you win, what would you do for the city of Nashville? Because you got the Titan Stadium. Because somebody may say, do you have experience in that, dealing with the Titan Stadium, or have you never been on legislative? I don't know what people ask those questions, because like I said, I have no experience. I just go vote.
Yeah.
What would you tell those people who tell you if you don't have enough experience, and why you want to do this? No, not why you want to do it, but why do you? Let me say, I get my question right. Why you want to do it, and then what would you tell your voters why to vote for you? I got it.
Got it. So those who are listening to Stronger Than My Father podcast, I would ask you for your vote because you want someone that has the experience, the courage to run into fires, to put them out, to be able to make a difference. You want someone to have a passion for what they do. The past 4 years, I have shown nothing but resilience and being able to work. Even when it was by myself, I got the work done. And if I'm given this opportunity to be your next mayor, the work that needs to be done, it's not about putting a pause on the work that needs to be done. It's about being productive. And that's one of the things, if you haven't seen me and you haven't done your research, that's something that you'll see in Fran Bush. And that's what you want for your community. You want that for your children. You want a leader that's going to be very intentional and have a plan. And that's what I've always had. My leadership has been very consistent. My opponents that are running, do your research and see. It's not about how much money you raise. It's about who is going to be the best fit for my family and my community and my city. And I do believe that I could be your next mayor. Your second question was, tell me again. I got so excited about that. I guess
the experience with all the things that's going to be running right into you. You got a stadium that's going to be built. People fussing over that. You got people even fussing about this soccer and stuff like that. How do you combat all that and talk to those people who don't want this stadium, who wants it? How do you, fix all that kind of stuff?
Well, one of the things I think you mentioned about maybe like the legislatures and things like that on the state level. I think one of the things that Nashville is tired of is the bickering between parties. Because you can see the Democrat, you can see the Republicans having their sides. What you want in your next mayor is someone like myself who can work across the aisles. And that's what I've done. I've worked across the aisles. I've talked to Governor Lee when we were going through the fight of getting our kids back in school. I got that phone call from Governor Lee. You can't think of a board member getting a call from the governor. So that was very, that was warming to me to know that he really cared, and he does care about children. And then you have the legislature who makes the laws, right? They make the laws, and then it's signed on Governor Lee's desk. Well, my goal is to have the conversation. So anything that touches Nashville, that it could affect Nashvillians on a legislator or on the state level, that's when I'll pick up that phone call. I'll make that phone call and say, hey, let's have that conversation. Now, we may not agree on everything, but one thing you would know is that your next mayor, if I become your next mayor, that I'm very intentional about whatever affects you on our level, I'm going to have that conversation. We may agree to disagree. It may not work, but it's very, very important that you work across the aisles. And that's one of the things that I want Nashville's to know, that I know what they're tired of, and I want to make sure that I'm intentional, making sure that I'm doing my part to make sure that I'm listening and making sure that I can make a difference.
Well, I can't ask you no more question. You said it best. So, hey, you guys, you have Fran Bush here who's running for mayor. I wish you the best.
Thank you.
With this journey, it's a lot. I'm glad it's you and not me, because that's a whole big animal. I wish you luck.
Thank you.
I pray that everything works out in your favor, and I hope it works out.
Thank you.
Like I said, I'm not political, but I encourage, I'm more happy when people step out on faith to do something and say, hey, I want to do something. And that should encourage other girls of color to say, hey, Fran can run, maybe I can go do this. So
Absolutely.
Good luck. with the run. I'll be watching you.
Yes,
and
thank you.
We'll just see what happens.
But thank you for your support, Marcus. And
All right.
of course, Stronger Than My Father, always, always dear near my heart. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Well, you heard it here. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Stronger Than My Father podcast. If you like what you heard, please click on the subscribe button. And also, we definitely need support financially to keep these podcasts going. And also, like our Stronger Than My Father on your local social media platform. We'll see you soon again on another episode of Stronger Than My Father podcast. God bless you. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Enjoy yourself. Bye.